The way we find that a chemical is harmful is we do very large studies. The studies I conducted were $5 million a study, each taking 5 years. I replicated that, that's $10 million, 10 years. And that's just one chemical class. Okay, so there's no time, there's no money to wait till we put this out on people and see who has a problem. I'm Shanna Swan. I'm a professor in the Icahn School of Medicine in New York. I am an environmental epidemiologist and a reproductive epidemiologist. For the last couple of years, I've been thinking about how to make small interventions in people's lives that would convince them that plastics in their daily life is affecting their health and help them change those exposures and improve their health. I'm doing that because I don't think that the old way of doing things, my old way and most people's old way of doing things, which is through the academic setting, there's no impact. I decided I had to do something different. And that's when I conceived my current program, which is called Action Science Initiative. So I'm trying to use another way of communication where I can much more directly impact people and help them make changes that will matter for their lives. When the book came out, it was impactful, I think, but I think a book alone is not enough. A book is read by some small number of people. I feel that we need to have developed much better means of communication and engagement with people. And film is a great way to do that. Social media, I think, is a great way to do that. I think the old ways of journals and fact sheets and so on, people don't care. I am passionate about this work because I believe we are in crisis. I believe that the plastics in our lives are threatening our survival as a species and the survival of all planetary life. There cannot be a bigger threat, I think, and it's what I am devoting my life to talking about. I believe that the chemicals in my life and in the life of everyone who's living now probably started at the end of the Second World War. At that point, they were coming into the market, and because science was king, science had ended the war, scientists could do no wrong, they were almost worshipped. and I remember some of that. I think my life was a little atypical because my parents were unusual, and intellectuals, refugees, poor. So I personally did not experience a lot of plastic, but I could see it around me and I could see it being used. It wasn't, honestly, until one really important day when I was flying with a colleague to Japan. He's a chemist from CDC, and he said, Shanna, you should study plastic, and you should study phthalates. And I said, why? And he said, because we know now after testing the, urine at the CDC that they're in everybody, and we know from the National Toxicology Program that they cause the phthalate syndrome in rodents. And so I asked the natural question, because I'm curious and I like to solve puzzles, is that happening in humans? And so I spent the next 10 years figuring that out, and the answer is yes. So a phthalate is a chemical that is added to make that plastic soft and flexible. It's also used to increase absorption. So, for example, put into hand cream to make it go into your skin. It's put in pesticides, actually, to make the pesticide get absorbed into the plant. It's also used to hold scent for a fragrance, or color, for example, lipstick, nail polish. So it's not only a plasticizer, it also has these other properties. Its use is quite prevalent. And so there's a lot of ways that people can be exposed to it. Its chief property, as far as I'm concerned, because that's where I see the impact, is its ability to lower testosterone. Sperm count has declined 1% per year. And since 2000, because we did another analysis after 2000, the rate has increased to about 2.6% per year decline. So it's a much steeper decline since 2000. When I talk about this or read about it, I see people saying, well, it's because we choose not to have children. It's because we want to delay our childbearing. It's because we want to be, a woman wants to be in the workforce and not have children, and so on and so on and so on. So that's all true, but that can't be the whole explanation. And the reason is that if you look at other species, they are also exposed to these chemicals, to phthalates and other endocrine disrupting chemicals, quite the same rates as we are, and they are declining also. They are not choosing to delay their childbearing. It's not their choice not to have fewer, eggs in their nest and so on. So I think the best answer to the question of choice, they are experiencing the same thing. And it is at the rate of 1% per year. It's so interesting that this drumbeat goes through all of this. In Action Science Initiative, what we're doing is conducting small, quick interventions where we change people's exposures. So the first of these is the fertility intervention. And for that, we enrolled 6 couples who were infertile. And I worked with a company called Million Marker. So they will talk to you and ask you, what are you putting on your face? What are you washing your clothes with? What are you putting in your laundry? How do you store your food in your refrigerator? On and on and on. And then they will look at your results of your urine testing, see what your high levels are, and look at that in relation to what you said your exposure was. And together that makes a program for them on what they can change to lower their exposure. It's not rocket science, but it's, I think, very helpful. For the fertility intervention, these couples collected their urine Also, the men collected a semen sample. They sent these in to be tested, different labs, of course. And then when they saw the results on the tests, Milligan Marker talked to them and said, you know, this high level of, say, phthalates is maybe related to that perfume that you put on every day, or maybe related to that face cream you put on. I went to their house. I went to their house with a big box full of products, okay? And in that box were food storage containers that were not made of plastic. There were utensils that were not plastic. There were cleaning products that were safe, personal care products. So this was very personalized. It was a response to their own levels of exposure and what they said they had been using. And then they used these for 3 months. And we got their body burden at the beginning, at the middle, at the end, and you can see all of these levels going down. And you can see their sperm counts going up. I won't say more because the film is not out yet, but it was a very successful intervention. I also went around the house with them. And for example, when I saw the plastic shower curtain, I said, you could replace this with cotton. When I saw their microwave, I said, don't ever microwave anything in plastic. Don't let any plastic that contains food or drink get warm, like in a car. Once they got the idea that they should be aware of these things, then they started seeing them too. My message to the petrochemical industry is that you have no right to be poisoning people in multiple ways. And I'm particularly concerned about the poison that you introduce into plastics through the byproducts of your petrochemical production. And the health effects of these chemicals on people is criminal. Is criminal. They did not request this exposure. They did not sign up for this exposure. And you're threatening their health and perhaps the survival of planetary species.